सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यः ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदायकर्तृभ्यः वंशर्षिभ्यः महद्भ्यः नमो गुरुभ्यः। We are on page 23 of this booklet, and we were reading this passage from the line 20. Tatra idam sarvam yadayamatma iti pratignatam. Idam sarvam, idam sarvam, all this, yet ayamatma, that is nothing but this self. All this is but the self. The self is all of this. Iti pratignatam, this was stated, was proposed. So pratigna, proposition was made. Tatra hetuhu abhihitaha, and to show how everything is Atma indeed, like saying that all these pots and pans are nothing but clay, similarly also that all of these is nothing but Atma or consciousness. How we demonstrate all of this is clay? By showing how all the pots and pans have emerged from the clay, they are sustained by clay, they merge back into clay. So also we have shown here how the whole universe of names and forms has emerged from Atma. For that the example of the fire and the sparks etc. was given to us. How it is sustained by Atma. For that the examples of the drum and the lute etc. were given us, how the specific notes are all abiding in the general sound. And the merger, how all the waters merge into ocean. So through various examples we were shown how this universe emerges from Atma, is sustained by Atma, it merges back into Atma. Tatra hetu abhi, this is called hetu, or the reason. When you make a statement, then you should justify it. So Upanishad made a statement that all this is Atma. In justification of that statement, Upanishad said it is because everything has emerged from Atma or consciousness, it abides in consciousness, merges back into consciousness of Atma. Atma samanyatvam, Atma jatvam, Atma pralayatvam, that it is sustained in Atma, it is born of Atma, it merges back into Atma. Tasmat उत्पत्ति स्थिति प्रलय कालेषु प्रज्ञान व्यतिरेकेण अभावात् Therefore, at the time of creation, sustenance, dissolution, at any time, past, present, future, this universe is never apart from prajnanam or consciousness. Because while the birth is taking place, since birth takes place in consciousness, therefore, while it is born, it is not apart from consciousness. While the sustenance is there, then also, as we say, pointed out, that whenever we perceive anything or experience anything, the consciousness is always experienced. And so also when everything merges back, like everything merges back into water, the ocean, so also it merges back into Atma. Deva prajnanam brahma atmavedam sarvamiti pratignatam yat. So what was stated that all this is the Atma was, you can say, proven. Upanishad doesn't have to prove anything, but for us to understand, because whenever the Upanishad says something, it is called Pramanam, meaning that we don't question what it says. When eyes say that this is orange color, we don't question the eyes. How do you say it is orange? That's because eyes say that. Eye is called Pramanam, the authentic means of knowledge for revealing color. So Upanishad is Pramanam, authentic means of revealing nature of self, nature of reality, and this is what it says, but still, not only it says, but then gives us also reasoning, so that we can digest it, we can understand it, make it our own. Tat tarakatah saritam, this was also established by reasoning. Svabhavikoyam pralayati pauranikah vadanti. This example of merger, all the waters merges back into ocean. That merger, what is the nature of that merger? Pauranikah means those who look upon Puranas as Pramanam, they said that this merger is natural. Meaning just as water merges into ocean its source, so also the universe merges into its source. Vedanta then says that this merger is of a different nature. Yastu buddhipurvakaha pralayah brahmavidam brahmavidya nimittah. I am reading from this passage, so you may also look at it. If you can read this Devanagari, that may be a problem also. Swami, I never learned Sanskrit. Never learned, that happens. I never learned Hindi. I can't read, so that's okay, then you listen. Yastu buddhipurvakaha pralaya. There is a svabhavikaha pralaya, meaning that pralaya or the delusion that takes place by nature, that every effect merges into cause, that's a nature. Someday this part which is made of clay will merge into clay because it is nature and effect like part to ultimately merge back into cause such as clay. Effect today or tomorrow will merge back into cause when it will break down. So there is something natural, meaning that the karyam or the effect ultimately merges back into karanam or the cause. So this is called svabhavika, natural dissolution. Brahmavidyastu buddhipurvakaha pralayah. The pralaya, the dissolution that is carried out deliberately. See, the pralaya or the dissolution that takes place by nature is one thing, but dissolution that is carried out deliberately. Buddhipurvakaha pralayah brahmavidam brahmavidya nimittaha. The wise people also bring about this pralaya dissolution by knowledge. So one dissolution that takes place by nature, just as all the waters merge into ocean, other dissolution is done by knowledge. Brahma Vidya Nimitta, by knowledge of Brahman. Either this ornament melts and merges back into its cause, which is gold, or you look at this ornament. What is this ornament? When you observe it, you find that it is nothing but gold in a given name and form. Is it not so? What you call bangle is nothing but a name and form where the substance is gold, isn't it? Then what I have in my hand is, what is this in my hand? Now everybody gives an answer. Had I asked this 5 minutes ago, what is in my hand? Bangle. But now everybody answers, what do you have? Gold. So how do you say that? What happened in your mind, instead of calling this bangle, now you are calling it gold, something happened in your mind. What happened? The bangle is dissolved into gold, is it? Have you melted this? When dissolution takes place, when you melt this bangle into gold, other dissolution takes place when you see this bangle as gold, you follow? We recognize that this form, this circular form, etc., is just only incidental. And what is the abiding factor here? This bangle has two factors, an abiding factor and an incidental factor. What is incidental? The form is incidental. If you melt this bangle, then it may turn into a chain, meaning the form is incidental. But that which is never denied or never negated is that it is gold. So form may change, this bangle may turn into a chain, turn into a, whatever you call it, a bracelet, and so forth. And thus, the name and forms may keep on changing, but the fact that this is gold does not change. Is that clear? So when you wisely say that, Swamiji, what you have in your hand is gold, something happened in your mind. Your eyes say that this is bangle, your mind says that this is gold. Yeah? When you say this is gold, it is not what your eyes say, is it not so? What the eyes say is this is bangle. When you say gold, it is what your mind or buddhi says. Is that right? Because eyes only see a bangle. The mind sees gold. Is it not so? Hopefully. When you all replied that what you have in your hand is gold, so something happened in your mind. What happened? Some laya took place. When you say that this is gold, you merge this bangle into gold in your mind. One way of merging the bangle into gold is to melt this bangle into gold. Other way of merging the bangle into gold is, in your mind you recognize that bangle is incidental and gold is essential. Incidental means it comes and goes, essential means ever there. And then what is essential? What is real in this object is gold. What is incidental, what is coming and going is the form, in this case bangle. It may be a chain, it may be an earring, whatever it is. So two kinds of pralayas or dissolutions are there. One is when we melt this bangle into gold is one kind of dissolution which is called natural dissolution, because bangle is product, effect, and will merge into its cause, which is gold, which is a natural dissolution. Other is a dissolution that took place in your mind. When you say, Swami, what you have is gold. Oh, that was a very intelligent reply. Really? So what happened in your mind? In your mind, there was a recognition that the abiding substance in here is only gold, and the form is coming and going. What is coming and going in Vedanta is called mithya, and what is abiding is called satyam. That means that this bangle is a combination of satyam, which is gold, and mithya or incidental, which is form. So now you understand satyam and mithya. Satyam is what is abiding, doesn't change. So you break it, melt it, cut it, whatever you do, the fact that it is gold doesn't change. But as far as the form is concerned, when you do something, the form changes, the name also will change. The name and form is subject to coming and going, is incidental. Gold is something that is essential. Therefore, in two ways you can turn this bangle into gold. One way is to melt this bangle into gold. Other is in your own mind, recognizing that this form is only incidental and the reality or the abiding thing here is gold. Is it right? So you dissolve the bangle into gold in your mind. One is dissolving the bangle into gold in physical reality called nature or svabhava. Other is dissolving or negating this form and recognizing the gold as the abiding reality. So now you have two choices. Either to recognize that this is gold, you melt it, or you see what is the abiding aspect here and say this is gold. So this is done intelligently. This is done with understanding. So by understanding also you will merge into gold. Similarly also, every name and form. So how do you say this is gold? Because this bangle has emerged from gold. It is sustained by gold. It merges back into gold. Therefore, this bangle is nothing but gold. So also is the whole universe of names and forms has emerged from Atma consciousness, sustained by consciousness, merges back into consciousness, and therefore the real substance, just as here it is gold, so the real substance in the universe is what? The real substance is consciousness. You understand? Consciousness is substance from which this universe, anything is made, substance. What, Swamiji, you can take this gold and you can form it in any shape and with consciousness. How can you make form out of consciousness? Can you? You cleverly give example of bangle and gold and pot and clay and simply switch and say that therefore everything is conscious. Where? How can you take consciousness and turn or mold it into name and form? Can you? Consciousness is changeless, cannot be molded. And still Upanishad says, and we understand that this whole universe has emerged from consciousness, sustained by consciousness, merges back into consciousness. How is that? That's a difficult question. But you follow what I am asking you. Everything emerges from consciousness, sustained by consciousness, merges back into consciousness. In Vedanta, this will be called, because consciousness is changeless, You cannot mold consciousness in names and forms. There are not molds, then you pour consciousness and make all these names and forms. That's not possible. That's possible with gold, but not with consciousness. So how does Vedanta explain how did names and forms come? Maya. That's a good answer. But then Vedanta calls it the Adhyaropa superimposition. You superimpose the name and form on consciousness. Consciousness is a substratum on which names and forms are superimposed. In fact, for Vedantin, even this bangle also is nothing but the superimposition of name and form upon gold. And so also the universe of names and forms is a projection, superimposition upon the substratum which is consciousness. How can that be, Swami? In a dream we experience something like that in a dream. So it depends upon, people tell me, Swami, they have different kinds of dreams. Sometimes they see Lord Shiva in the dream, sometimes they see Ganga in the dream, and so far nobody has come and said, I have seen Swamiji in the dream, but sometimes they do. Then I want to feel a bit proud, that I am seen in the dream. Whereas yet nobody has told me here in this session. So, how do you get this Ganga in the dream? Do you know where the dream takes place? Upanishad explains that. Where is the Jivatma when it is experiencing dream? It is in a very fine nerve called Hita Nadi. That is where the Jivatma is when the experience of dream takes place. It is finer than hair, in fact, it's 1,000th of hair, something like that. In that fine nerve, the Jivatma experiences dream. Is it possible to accommodate mountain in that thing? Elephants we see, horses we see, mountains we see, in dream, all kinds of things we see. The place where we see is so restricted. All of these have no place there, and still we see them. How do you see? That's called projection. What is it called? Projection. The mind projects that whole thing. For projection, thank God, you do not require real substance. In the dream we can carry out this, this class, but you don't have to travel all the way from your place, you are right here, all of the hall doesn't have to be built, everything is there, is all creation of the mind. That is a model to explain the waking world also. That the Vedantic teachers explain to us that what we call this waking world also is nothing but no, so how can it be? But when we were experiencing dream, like suppose this is dream, it could very well be. It looks so real and so tangible, is it not so? In dream also I may be striking my palm on this table and show you it is so tangible. But the tangibility is nothing but a projection. So just as the dream is an imagination of the mind, projection of the mind, imagination of the mind, Vedantic teachers tell us that this waking also is not much different. Because when we are experiencing dream, that time we thought that it was all real. In dream somebody praised me, Swamiji, your class was so wonderful, I would be so happy. And somebody says, Swamiji, what did you talk today? I couldn't follow anything. I would feel so miserable. So dream also, pleasure and pain are there. Happiness and unhappiness are there. Honor, dishonor is there. Success and failure, everything we experience in dream also. But they are all projections of the mind. So then the question arises that in the waking state, when you experience pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor, birth and death, is there a possibility that all of this also could be the projection? There is a possibility. Because in dream, when we are experiencing, it was so tangible. Only after waking, I say that it was in imagination. So also, right now it is all tangible. Yas sakshat kurte prabodha same svatmanamevadvayam tasme shri guru murte namaidam shri dakshinamurte vishvam darpana dushymanagari tulyam nijantargatam. This is what he said in the first verse of the Dakshinamurti Stotra. Anyway, why am I saying all this such elaborately? Is that there are two ways of dissolving this bangle. One is melting it, that is called the natural dissolution. Other is seeing it as gold. This is called the dissolution by knowledge. What is the knowledge? Knowledge is that the substance here is gold and the form is incidental. By recognizing that you have essentially melted this or you have dissolved this bangle into gold. Buddhi purvakaha pralaya brahmavidam. Bhashyakara says that buddhi purvakaha pralaya. One is the natural pralaya or dissolution by melting this. Other is by seeing this in my mind that this is gold. Same thing is accomplished. Whether you melt this thing and into gold or whether you see it as gold even when it is bangle, in your mind, what is the pratyaya? What is the cognition that this is gold? Same thing is accomplished. What can be accomplished by physical melting is also accomplished by recognition, by understanding, by knowledge. So Brahmavidam Pralayaha Brahmavidya Nimittaha. Similarly also the wise people, the knowers of Brahman, they look at this universe like we are looking at this bangle. In bangle, just as there is name and form in gold also, the wise people see these names and forms. Recognize names and forms as projection of the mind, recognize that the substance is what? Prajnanam, consciousness, the self. Is it possible? Is it possible that a wise person, just as we are wise with reference to this bangle and we recognize that this is gold, which is the unchanging factor, the non-negatable factor. So what is the unchanging factor in the universe? Again I can come back and say that this bangle is, the bangle shines in my consciousness, the bangle is dear to me, asti, bhati, priyam. Is it not so that every name and form is distinct from other names and forms, but as far as the substratum is concerned, everything is asti, bhati, priyam. Is it not so? All the ornaments are different from each other, but from standpoint of gold, they are all identical, and so also, what is the substance? Asti, bhati, priyam is substance. So either you can merge the whole universe, or in your mind recognize that every name and form is nothing but asti, bhati, priyam. By recognizing that name and form is only temporary, is only incidental, and what is the real substance is consciousness or asti, bhati, prem. Is it possible? You can look at this universe. What the eyes tell us is that this is bangle. What the mind tells us is this is gold. What the eyes tell us are their names and forms. But what the mind can tell us is that all of these are nothing but asti, bhati, priyam, nothing but consciousness, nothing but Brahman, nothing but Atma. In order to help us do that, Upanishad took such a long, to show that this all emerged from Atma, sustained by Atma, merging back into Atma. So this is how wise people don't have to do this physically. A wise person need not melt this bangle into gold. He sees it is gold, so also the wise people don't have to do anything. Recognize that what is asti, bhati, priyam, what is conscious, what is self. Atyantika. But then this universe does not come back for the wise person. This one will come back, merger will again come back. This is the ultimate merger, Atyantika pralaya. Atyantika means that once and for all. So this pralaya or the dissolution that takes place by knowledge, it remains because then every time you experience anything, your mind says asti, bhati, priyam in a name and form. Avidya nirodhadvarnaiha bhavati. So this is a different kind of pralaya which comes by the dissolution of vidya or ignorance. So to help us understand, the Upanishad gives us describe the next passage which is on the page 24. The examples are all day-to-day examples. You say, what is rustic examples? But there is a great profoundness, in these examples. So let us read that passage. Page 24, first line. Sayatha saindavakilyaha udake prastaha udakam eva anuviliyeta naha asya udgrahanaya ivasyat yato yataha tu adadita lavanam eva evam vai are idam mahadbhutam anantam aparam vijnanaghana eva. So yatha means the drishtanta, the illustration. Saindava khilya. Khilya, a lump. Saindava, salt. Saindava khilya, a lump of salt. Like this. It's called lump of salt, right? Yatha saindava khilya. Udake prastaha, when this lump of salt is dropped in water, what will happen? It will udakam eva anuviliyeta, it will merge into udakam water. Nahasya udgrahana evasya, then you cannot get this lump anymore. When this lump is dropped in water, after a while there is no more lump. Yataha yata adadita, wherever you pick up, or wherever you taste, it is only lavanam or salt only. There is no more lumpness. This is a lump which is a solid thing. This lump in fact separates, it sits from everything else, from the rest of the ocean, from water, from salt. This lump has an individuality. Lump says, I am so and so, this is my form, this is my this. So that is an ego that the lump has. Basically, what is this lump? Nothing but water. This water alone is acquired this lumpness. Another example could have been, in the ocean we have those icebergs. In the ocean we have Icebergs mean mountains of ice. If icebergs float in water, what is an iceberg? Nothing but water, ocean water. Ocean water acquired an ego, got a form, has now an individuality, is now distinct from other icebergs, different from ocean. Is it not so? And says, I'm a bigger iceberg, you are a small iceberg. And beware, I'll strike against you and crush you. Other one says, oh please don't do that, etc. This kind of a dialogue can go on between icebergs also, is it not so? Like the dialogues that go on between human beings, one is threatening, bullying other one. In school this is called bullying. Some children are bullies, and they scare other children, threaten them. Just an example. What an individuality does. But that thing was water, this was not there. Moment it became iceberg then, and this is called ego, and ego arose. What is ego? I am so and so, I am an iceberg. Moment, who says I am an iceberg? What is that says I am an I am is what, What is it that says I am an iceberg? I don't hear well, The water says I am iceberg, understand? Because what is iceberg? Nothing but water, isn't it? So who says I am iceberg? Water. Other fellow, there's number of icebergs, water says I am iceberg, X, Y, Z, etc. I am big, I am small, I am successful, I am not successful, whatever. Moment this water becomes iceberg, all kinds of comparisons will be there with other icebergs. All complexes will come, whether I am great, I am small, I am big, whatever. And all miseries will come. Iceberg doesn't have a human mind, fortunately, otherwise anything that a human mind will be miserable. Human mind will start comparing. This is the peculiar, uniqueness of human being. It always compares itself with others and judges itself. I am something or I am nothing. I am superior, I am inferior. Both ways there is suffering. No, Swami, I am superior, but that's all. But then you have to retain their superiority. Always watching out for other icebergs, that there is no bigger one comes. There was one Usain Bolt, the history must be there. The fastest man in this world, I give the example. He, I guess, dashed 100 meters in 9.9 seconds or something like that. 10 seconds used to be the record many years ago, now, 9.9 or whatever it is, Usain Bolt. I'm the fastest man in the world. Do you think Usain Bolt enjoys peace of mind? Usain Bolt now has to keep track of all the runners who come, and is always concerned, this fellow may run faster than me. Usain Bolt means the person, who's the, I happen to know the name, who's the champion, and maybe still the fastest man in the world, I do not know. What I am saying is, even when you become fastest, there is no peace of mind. Because human mind keeps on comparing and is concerned now that I am the champion in the universe world, the world champion. But you cannot quite enjoy the world championship because somebody else may come and dash faster than me. You follow? That's called ego. What is ego? Keeps on comparing, having complexes, and is miserable. Even the fastest man also cannot have peace of mind because it is concerned that I must remain fastest now. I must retain that world championship. Nobody should come to challenge my status of the world champion. This is called human mind. This is called khilya, the lump of salt. The example here is of the lump of salt. The water has acquired a state called lump. What this is water solidified into lump. Because when you drop this piece in water, it will dissolve in water. That's what it says. Udake prastha udakam eva anuviliyeta. What the Upanishad says that even when it appears as lump, what it is only water. The water alone has acquired the state of lump, because water, when it comes in contact with the earth and light, etc., becomes heated up and becomes lump. Before becoming lump, this entity was only salt water. The salt water came in contact with earth, let us say, and sun, and that is how it became solid, a lump. So what is this lump? This ocean water alone is this lump because of the contact with the earth and heat. So also consciousness is ocean that has become the lump. Ocean that really is endless, infinite. That ocean has become lump because of coming in contact with earth and heat, etc. So also this consciousness or Atma is ocean. It is boundless, infinite. But because of the contact with what? In this case, with ignorance. Contact with these things. What is body, mind, sense complex? Consciousness, because of the contact with or association with this body, mind, sense complex, has to become a lump. Who is a lump? Swami Viditatmananda, one lump. And Devadatta another lump, Yajnapatta another lump, and so on and so on. Each one is what? Like a lump of consciousness. Is it not so? Who am I? A lump of consciousness. Who are you? A lump of consciousness. You're all saying yes, because that seems to be the right answer, so that is a diplomatic answer, Yes, Swami. Otherwise, Swami would not ask. The fact that he asks means that this must be the answer. So yatha saindava khilya. Saindava means salt. Sindhoho vikaraha. Saindava. Anyway, Saindava we know that it is salt. Saindava khilya, just as a lump of salt. Udake prastha, when it is dropped in water. Udakam eva anuviliyeta. It is water that has become this lump. And water in the form of lump, when it is dropped in water, what happens? That water dissolves is right. But what happens? This water, that is this lump now, that water merges into other water, that's how the lump goes away. This is a little important thing to recognize here. That as this Upanishad says, this lump of salt is nothing but water which has acquired this state of lumpness on account of contact with heat and earth. And therefore, when it is dropped in water, which is its mother, which is its true nature, which is the original nature, when this lump is dropped in water, the water in this lump merges into that water and the lumpness goes. Simple example. So also, we are all lumps. Maitreyi is a lump. We'll read this passage tomorrow, but then, so when that lump nasya udgrahana eva syat, meaning that no more you can now retrieve that lump, what you will find is nothing but the water. When lump is dropped in water, after a while you cannot retrieve the lump. All you find is nothing but the salt water. From wherever you taste, yata yata to adadita lavanam eva. Wherever you pick it up from, is nothing but lavanam or salt. This is a very simple example. Now this example is applied to us. Evam va are idam mahatbhutam anantam aparam vijnanagana eva. Similarly, O Maitreyi, this mahatbhutam, this great, mahat means great, bhutam means reality, anantam is infinite, aparam boundless, infinite boundless reality, this great, infinite boundless reality, vijnanagana eva, says, hey Maitreyi, you are who takes yourself to be Maitreyi, or we who take ourselves to be this individual are like the lump of that salt or lump of consciousness. How did the water become lump? By coming in contact with the heat and earth. So the consciousness became lump. How? By coming in contact with this body, mind, sense complex. In fact, consciousness cannot have contact with anything. So how do you say consciousness comes in contact with his body, mind, sense complex? Like saying that the space comes in contact with his part. And now we have a new entity called part space. You know, have you heard this expression, part space? What is part space? Space confined within part, isn't it? Space confined within part is called part space. When you attend Vedanta classes, all this stuff will keep coming. In case you are attending for the first time, then also understand this is part. The space within the part is called? What did I say? The space within the part is called part space. Is the space within the part? When I move the part, the space also goes along with the part. Is it not? When I move the part, is it not that the space within the part also moves? Does it or does it not? Because when I put all this stuff in here, and then when I move the part, they also move. So similarly, space also is within the part. And when I move the part, does not the part space also move from one location to the other? Yes, is it not so? Now people don't know whether to say yes or no. They do two choices. This is like the multiple choice question, you know. They have to pick one. Some people pick yes and some people pick no. At least one of them will be right. But I use the expression space within the part. Is there space within part? No? Wow. Is space within the part or part is within the space? Oh, that's very clever. However, when a part is formed or held in my hand, the notion created in our mind is that this space is within the part, that there is space within the part which we call part space. Have you heard the expression part space? hall space. Part space means the space within the part. Is there space within the part? No. But somewhere it is there. Space within the part is not in reality, but when we use the expression part space, here immediately when I hold the part in my hand, the idea is space within the part, and so the idea or notion of part space is created in our mind. Thus this part is successful in creating a notion of part space in our mind, is it not so? When I hold a part in my hand, then you know that there is space within the part, and you call it part space. So is part space within the part, or a part space is where? In our mind. But what happened is, this part managed to create in our mind a notion of part space. That does not have to be an entity called part space in reality. Nevertheless, there is a notion of part space in our mind, because you see the part, you see the space within the part. So space within the part is part space, isn't it? But is there space within part? No. However, the part does create this notion in our mind that there is space within the part, and for that notional space we use this expression part space. Now you and I can call it part space, but real example is what, the space says that I am part space. The real example is this, not you and I calling it part space. You understand this? Who says part space? Space says I am part space. The moment this part is there, the space within the part says I am part space. That is not the problem. If you and I say part space, no big deal. Real problem, space is a problem. What's the problem? The space says I am a part space. Then the space says I am a part space. Then this space says I am a part space. And each one of them has different volumes. So this is a larger part space, this is a middle part space, this is little part space. And therefore they look at each other, and this one says, I'm a small little part space, I'm a big one. And they suffer from complexes of superiority, inferiority. Who suffers? Part space. Space suffers, not part. Space thinks that I'm part space. This is the example. Not you and I saying it's part space. Space says I am part space, and then suffers from the notion of confinement within the part. And same space says that I am part space 2, same says part space 3, and each part space is as though different from other part space, and then they look at each other and compare with each other and then make all kinds of claims. This one says, you are big and ugly, I am small and beautiful. Oh, that also can be said. You are formless, shapeless, ugly. Look at me, I am so beautiful. It depends on what you want to say. But thus everything has this kind of complexes, Who has complex? Space has complex and I am part space. Not you and I. When people say part space, whether you think it's part space or not is not important. Space thinks that I am part space and then suffers from a sense of confinement within the part. Where space in reality is boundless. That boundless space thinks that I am confined to a part and therefore suffers from a sense of confinement. So also the consciousness that you and I are thinks that this is a part, one part, second part, third part, number of parts. And consciousness thinks that I am confined to this part and that part and that part. Well, this part is just clay. It could be golden part also, it can be mud part also, it can be clay part also, silver part also. Then further complexes will be added. I'm a golden space part, golden part, golden space, silver space. Because we have so many varieties here. So this is how Vedanta explains the sense of limitedness, sense of confinement. Each one of us feels a sense of limitedness because each one of us thinks that I am a part space or I am the Swami consciousness. This is a part. And the consciousness thinks I am Swami consciousness. I am a woman consciousness. I am a man consciousness. I am this conscious. Who says? Consciousness says that. And thus consciousness, which is what? Aparam, anantam, boundless, endless. Thinks that I am a little lump, I am a small little thing confined to this body, mind, sense complex. This is the example, understand. How self or Brahman or limitless feels a sense of limitedness because of the limitedness of the upadhi. That's why it's called limiting adjunct. Similarly, also ocean says that I am a lump. That was the example here. And then how does it recognize its true nature? Physically by dropping that lump in the water. And so how do we recognize our true nature? By dropping into the consciousness. Now this dropping is of a different nature. We'll see it tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.